Welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and tonight's about a very ancient practice. We're going to be talking about the history and the practice and the spiritual traditions of yoga. Tonight's guest is Basile Catomeris, and he's the author of Foundations of Yoga. Thank you, Basile.
Thank you for welcoming us.
Of course. Thank you for being here. No, I've been talking to Basile throughout the last few days, and yoga is not what we think. It's not just postures. It's not just what they call asanas. Yoga is a complex, detailed spiritual practice. So
originally, that we can say.
Your teacher, and his name was
Shyam Sundar Goswami.
Yes.
Is the name, a very ancient name, already found in the Vedas, scriptures, and Upanishads. Very ancient name. And we have documented his family for 750 years exactly.
His family.
Documented, yes.
But so he started you in yoga, but I mean, this program is, we want to expose people to the foundations of yoga.
Okay.
So let's start there. And you said before the show we have to agree on terms if we want to discuss the topic. So what is yoga? It's a very basic question, sorry,
yes.
But yoga is not just fancy positions.
Certainly not. We could say that yoga is the core, the heart of Hinduism. To start with.
I didn't know that.
Just as spirituality is the heart of any religion, and conversely, you can say that there is no actual religion or true religion without a sparkling of spirituality.
But how do you, when you say it's the heart of Hinduism, how do you define yoga? Let's start with...
Yoga is found in the Ayurveda. That means all forms, systems of yoga. There were approximately 100 different kinds of systems of yoga. And their source is the most ancient you can imagine in the Ayurveda, which is one of the 4 Vedas.
And Vedas are the ancient scriptures.
Right. Out of them, only 4 main systems are extant, existing, if I mention them, in the chronological order, how they are stated. One of mantra yoga.
The pronouncing of certain Sanskrit syllables to create a higher level of consciousness.
Mantra, from etymologically, monos, trano. What is monos? Monos, at the origin, is the origin of the word mens in Latin, mind in English, or mental, or mental in French. Monos. Trano is the withdrawal of the mind. In other words, the aim, the final aim of mantra yoga amounts to the same as the other systems, to the withdrawal of the mantra. Technically speaking, the implication we can speak about later on. Second one is Hatha Yoga, which is the most widely known in the West, especially the one on which we are going to speak and perhaps elaborate a little bit more.
Which is the movement.
Well, psychophysical system, we can say, where the body is being used for spiritual development, and which is, unfortunately, in my opinion, limited to these asanas. Asanas are physical, or rather psychophysical postures.
When you say psychophysical, they're not just
psychophysical,
stretching.
because the mental is always involved in keeping up or performing asana. It is not kind of gymnastics, different gymnastics. It is more than so. This is the second system. The third main system of yoga, or school of yoga, we can say, is Laya Yoga. What is Laya Yoga? It is the science of the chakras. Now, nowadays everyone will speak about chakras, but few people know that the basis of this is Laya Yoga, that discipline, that doctrine which contains the science of the chakras. And my late teacher, Shyam Sundar Goswami, has written a classic book which is called Laya Yoga, simply, with inner traditions. And it is considered by many experts as unique, both in India and in the West.
He goes through the science of chakras.
It is the exposition of the chakras. It took him 12 years to write it. And he was exceptional in that sense that he was not only a Hatha yogi, but also initiated into Raja Yoga. So he was a yoga master in a binary pathway. And the fourth
yes.
is Raja Yoga. What is Raja?
Raja
is royal. Yes, you say Raja.
R-A-J-A,
yes.
Raja.
In Sanskrit, Raja Yoga.
Okay.
Raja Yoga. It is also called the royal path.
Raja
Why?
is royal or king.
Yes, right. The Rajas, the Maharajas, you have heard about the two. But the thing is this, that this royal path is a very difficult path. And it has subdivisions. One of them is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti is the yoga where the feeling aspect, affection aspect, devotional aspect is fully involved.
That's part of Raja Yoga.
Bhakti, it is one subsidiary, you can say,
subcategory,
subcategory or subdivision of Raja Yoga.
Okay.
Again, it requires some advanced mental status to enter into this.
And enter into Bhakti
Into
Yoga.
Bhakti Yoga.
It does, because many
the
people
whole of
think...
Raja Yoga, I know that.
You know, the West has gotten a lot of strange concepts. You are a traditionalist, a classicist.
As a Westerner, I know that we are conquerors. We have been conquering many things. Conquering. Not recall about our conquest of different kinds and the bloodshed that they have implied. No, so this is the second main subdivision. The third one we can say is Jnana. You say something else. Jnana.
Subdivision of Raja.
Yes, the yoga of knowledge. Generally, in English, it is translated the yoga of knowledge. Here again, it supposes that the disciple, or rather the student, stands at a high mental level, not intellectual, mental level, to start, not to reach anything, but to start. This is traditionally like that. And one more I can mention to close this Raja Yoga complex, we can say, is Kriya Yoga.
Kriya Yoga, what's that?
It is mostly rituals. Rituals.
Like fire ceremonies.
Yes. They belong. So this is, in a nutshell, the four systems of yoga, of which Hatha Yoga is the most popular and the most known.
Okay. Now, Hatha Yoga, we should concentrate on that a little bit, because this is what your expertise is.
But before that, I will just finish with the structure which is common to those systems.
Okay.
What is the structure of this? It is octuple, 8 limbs.
8 limbs.
And it is called in Sanskrit, technically, Ashtanga. Ashta, 8, Anga is limb.
8 limbs to Hatha Yoga? 8 limbs to the four yogas.
Mantra Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Laya Yoga and Raja Yoga all suppose a structure which is common with different approaches.
All 4 have 8 limbs, you're saying?
Right.
Oh, so there's really 32 different limbs.
Well, you do not practice 4 systems at a time. It is out of context.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Each of the 4 basic divisions have 8 subdivisions.
Right. In that sense, we can say that all those yogas are actually, basically, traditionally, Ashtanga Yoga.
Which means
8 limb practice, discipline. 8 limb.
So if you study one of those 4 paths, you have to study the 8
You don't have to, and that you know very well. All those schools that you have here, they practice only 1 limb, generally.
What's
one asana? Postures, that's finished.
So if we talk about Hatha Yoga,
now we
one
go
of the 8 limbs is
to
the asanas, the body movement, and that's all they...
Yes.
But what is, before we get, what is the purpose? Why would someone want to study yoga? It's for spiritual advancement, right? Evolution.
Well, you know certainly better than I, because you're a resident in New York and you are acquainted with those people, that why do people start with something so foreign to our Western cultures? Why?
Well, for most people, I think it's a form of exercise and stretching and keeping in shape.
So it is an option, an alternative to gymnastics or bodybuilding or whatever.
But it has a spiritual component I think people also like, because that's fashionable these days. You know?
Then we come, of course, to something which is very temporary and which has little to do with yoga. We should remember one thing.
What?
Yoga has been documented for more than 5,000 years.
Right.
And the very, very strange thing that not very many people speak about is this. How could something, call it a culture, yoga, withstand the vicissitudes of age for 5,000 years without having any central power, like take the Catholic Church as, for example, Rome, the Vatican as an authoritative, and there you find nothing. Everything is just moving loosely, and still it has withstood these changes in religions for 5,000 years, changes in ideologies, in philosophy, and yoga is still there.
How has it survived?
I want you to be surprised. I want you to be surprised. How could something?
Okay.
Everything is temporary. Our age, our lifespan is limited.
Okay.
A regime, for example, political, it will stand, the mandate will be 4 years here in this country. In other countries, maybe a little bit more. But a kingdom, how many years, how many decades?
Okay.
And tell me any ideology, whether communist, to speak about the latest period, or whatever.
Well, you tell me why. How did it last for 5,000 years?
Isn't it strange?
Yeah, but what's the answer?
No, I have no answer. I first want you to be aware of the fact that it has withstood the challenges of man's introduction of many, many things, cultural things, religions, ideologies, technologies, philosophy, whatever, and still it is here today.
So it must have a basic fundamental truth that has reminded people of who they are for.
Yes.
And that's probably, I would guess, why the great wisdom traditions have remained intact. Because it reminds us of who we are. So,
right.
But as far as what you are concerned with, and what you can teach, why would someone study yoga? What is the foundation, as your book is called, of yoga? What's it about? You outline the 4 parts, but what is it for? Why would someone want to study yoga? What do they hope to get from that?
To me, yoga offers something that no system, no religion, no ideology offers, what it is. In the context of Hatha Yoga, it offers an approach to the different battlefields, I would say, excuse me the expression, to the different working fields that are within you. What are they? The physical, wellness, health, for example, sustain health. The vitality, the vital aspect of your life, the energy factor. The mental, also intellectually, to be able to understand, to grasp things in a certain time. The ethic part and aesthetic part in man appear to be inherent to our nature, ontologically. So also there is a possibility of developing yourself at that level. I will just finish.
Okay, yeah.
After the mental level, in which I include also this ethical aspect, you have, for some people, the religious aspect.
Or the spiritual aspect. Religious.
No, make a distinction, please.
Okay.
No, the religious aspect. Some people are religious, are sticking to their cultural faith, whether Christian, Muslim or Hindu or whatever, and they can use yoga without going astray from their traditional path. And the last aspect, which we have as a potential within us, is the spirituality. And what is spirituality then?
Well, but before we ask that question, how is doing different postures related to ethics and religion? I mean, Hatha Yoga.
This is what I'm saying. Is it possible actually to speak that I am embracing something quite alien, foreign to my culture, which is Hatha Yoga, and just by thinking that just by practicing some psychophysical postures, as I call them, I will reach anything deeper than just some alternative gymnastics?
Exactly. I'm glad you asked that question. But that's my question to you, and to the question to all the big yoga schools out there. Do this position, downward dog, all that. But
this is the question. For most of the people, I think that they are quite happy with the sentiment, the feeling of wellness.
Okay. But
whether it is subjective, it is objective or not, but also sharing with a group, perhaps with a teacher, attractive, charismatic, and then they would just go for a course.
But that's an exercise class.
Right.
Basically.
But for them, it is more or less like going to church in ancient times.
Yeah, but where do we get those other aspects into play that you talk about?
It is like the menu à la carte when you go to the restaurant. You pick up yourself what you like, according to your needs, wishes, and perhaps ambitions.
But in your teaching of yoga, when you've been teaching this for 30, 40, 50 years and studying...
Oh, I am that old.
I don't know. I don't want to tell people how old you are. Tell me how your teaching includes all these other parts and differs from all that.
This is the beauty, I think, of this, if we call it system. I don't like very much the word system because it supposes a circle. And in a circle, you are caught into it, however high it is, and there is no escape. Whereas in yoga, it has the possibility for you to transcend any system.
But tell me the
to go beyond
secret of it. How? No, I'm serious. Tell me what your approach is.
I would like, first of all, to point out one thing, because I mentioned actually the word spiritual. So what do we mean by spiritual in this context? In this context,
you want me to define spiritual? I would say,
please.
For me, it means there's another element that transcends the physical. We have a physical body, and we inhabit the body, but who the I is, the non-linear self, is the spiritual component. So it's like a piece of clothing, the body, and we're here to incarnate into that, but who we are is not just the incarnation.
This is a very good definition. I think that the definition I would like to match with spirituality in a very short manner is to say that anyone on earth, any person is actually a spiritual being.
Right. I agree, because they're all spirit and body.
Many people like to say, no, he is very materialistic, he's very sticking to this and this and that, and other, they are spiritually oriented.
No, I think you're absolutely right. We're all here on a spiritual path.
But I have a but.
No, most people don't.
But spiritual is the person who is aware of his true identity.
And the true identity is?
Remember, Jivatman.
Jiva.
The definition, Jivatman, is a definition of human.
Which is,
human.
What is that definition?
And then this
Jivatman.
term, Jivatman, is twofold. Jiva is an individualized portion, and Atman is the divine, the spirit, we said in our terminology.
So
in other words, we are basically, essentially, quintessentially, we are divine beings.
Yeah, I'm with you. I totally agree.
So spirituality would be, in this very active, militant context of practicing yoga, would be to be more and more and more aware of who you are.
Of our divine nature.
Right. And then we go to the definition, or not the definition, but in the Kathopanishad, it says, arise, seek a teacher, and know who you are. You certainly recognize the Delphic oracle who says, know thyself. The same.
Right.
The same. The same. The message is the same. So at the basis of yoga is this. Those who are prepared or interested or feel an aspiration towards knowing who am I actually, they will undertake, they will start.
I understand that. Now let's get back to that other question. How does doing basic stretches and poses help you know yourself as a divine being?
I don't see any possibility of actually transcending anything sensorial by simply posing this and that. There is a very good Hatha Yogi teacher, and I think he's been operating in this country. He said something poetically very beautiful. He said, every posture I am performing, I dedicate to you. To you, that means to is God.
The divine.
Yes. So you see already the spirit in which this is done. It is not so much what you are doing, but in what spirit you are doing these things, but which is determining of the result.
You don't need to do posture. Everything you do, like cooking your food or washing your clothes, that should be the same dedication then, right? I mean, everything could be that.
When you say dedication and whatever you do, we come to one of those subdivisions I did not mention, which is karma yoga. Karma yoga belongs to the Raya yoga complex, and it is also very advanced. That whatever you do, cutting your bread, washing, like that, you symbolically dedicate it to it. To God, to the divine.
No, I thank you, and it's absolutely true. That it could be a form of
it is a karma yoga.
But if we go back to hatha yoga, we're doing these poses, ashtanga, the asanas. How does that develop a spiritual awareness?
I have some difficulty in accepting such a concept, and I don't know if anyone pretends that by practicing postures it will give you much more than relaxation, peace of mind, some tranquility, quietness, temporarily for the time being. I'm not quite sure, unless you are already by yourself a sage, a man very mature spiritually.
So what aspects of the foundations of yoga give us the awareness of our divine? And what's the purpose then of doing these exercises? So that's a two-part question. What part gives us the divine connection, and what's then the purpose of asanas?
At the beginning, I think that when you speak about the divine, it is already to accept something which is not material.
Okay.
It is already accepted. So intellectually, you have already an approach. You are conceiving of something which does not exist.
Okay.
But which is. Look at the difference. God or the divine does not exist. You can look around you, you don't find any trace. You see only physical things, material things. You see the nature's wild movements and like that, but you don't see. But God, He exists insofar as it is. And in that beingness, you don't see anything. In other words, it is like spirituality. It is both immanent, it is, and transcendent. You have to go beyond something, the sensorial, in order to reach there. So to reach what you say, the divine, you have to go beyond the sensorial.
And how do you do that in the yoga that you practice?
Hatha yoga is a complex practice. Not everyone will want to undertake it fully. And at the very basis of these 8 limbs which I mentioned earlier, there are 2 sets of ethic rules, moral.
Ethical rules.
Ethical rules.
Okay.
Yomo, niyomo. So these
Yama and yomo.
Yes, right.
Yama and yomo.
Yes, you say yama and yomo, it's all right with me. But as I have been brought up by a yoga master, Hindu, I have to pronounce as I learn, isn't it? But we are speaking about the same thing. So these are what? These things, these 10 rules.
Practicing. Are you going to go through the 10 rules now?
No, not in detail.
It will take a few minutes.
No. Yeah. These are the kind of guarantee of purifying your whole being. And because to reach something very subtle, you need to get purified. It is foolish to think that just with your body, with a few postures, you will be able to perceive something which is beyond the realm of the sensorial. So we have these 10 rules in which there is cleanliness, there is purity, purification methods, dietetics, fasting, all those things. So all those belong to the basis of Hatha Yoga.
I think we have to. We'll continue this discussion, but because I still want to get to that point. So what I'm getting the sense of is yoga is really it's a school of thought. It's a way of life. It's a
Right.
it's a way of transcending the old self, so we can become an emanation of the divine. Let's say.
Yes, for those who are actually motivated by this kind of aim or destination, isn't it? Not everyone has such an ambition. For many of us, we say, "I am quite satisfied with my family."
We'll get back to that in part 2. I've been talking to Basile Catomeris.
Catomeris, that will be fine.
Foundations of Yoga is the name of the book by Inner Traditions. I'm Alan Steinfeld for New Realities. If you want to reach me, go to newrealities.com and look for part 2 of this conversation. Thanks for watching.